The fact that I'm even making a part 2 is crazy. Also, I changed the bands to like a black color from hot pink to black. I don't think I like it. It looks weird. Looks like I have a bunch of Oreo pieces stuck in my teeth. If you haven't watched part 1 already, then I suggest you should watch it because I feel like it would make way more sense since these people are kind of connected to the people that I ghosted in my first part. Off topic, but you guys know when there's like those days that you just feel so ugly for some reason? I feel like that's one of those days and I feel so uncomfortable right now. I don't know, it's probably like in my head. If you've been ghosted before, then you probably dealt with an avoidant, but if you're the one ghosting, then you're the avoidant. Okay, so you're probably wondering, Marina, what the fuck is an avoidant? So there's 2 different types of attachment styles. There's the anxious and there's the avoidant. So I don't really like to label myself or put myself into this box category, but I do find it that figuring out what your attachment style is, it can really help you determine the way that you are in relationships. Because for the longest time I would ghost a bunch of people and I didn't really know the reason why I was like that until I took the attachment style test, and then I realized like, oh, I'm an avoidant, and so that explains literally all of my friendships. I'm not even kidding. I have fucking issues. So knowing your attachment style really helps you understand yourself on a deeper level. This video really shows the perspective of not all avoidance, but the way that we respond to relationships and how that makes us feel, and basically like a perspective. I am aware of how fucking toxic this is, like this whole cycle is, because I've been dealing with it for the longest time and I've lost so many friendships. I've sabotaged a bunch, and because of that I'm literally left with like no friends, and that's my fault. So quick disclaimer, I am not proud of the things that I've done. I've hurt a lot of people in the process and I'm very aware of it. I'm trying to break out of this cycle, but it's hard. You'll notice that there are a few patterns as to why I ghost people in the first place. So the first one is I'm scared of the emotional vulnerability. So there's like 2 different types of mindsets with this, because my friend and I are like the complete opposite. So she's told me that she usually doesn't leave the relationships because she feels bad for leaving. So she actually wants the other person to leave instead of her leaving them. And then for me, it's like the complete opposite. I don't like it when people leave. So before I even get to the point where I can get hurt, I leave, which is kind of selfish because I rather them get hurt than me. Another reason is because I do get bored of people easily, and I don't know if that's like an excuse as to why I leave people. Maybe it's actually because I am, again, it's tied to like me being emotionally vulnerable, and I just make up an excuse that I get bored. Or maybe I do get bored. And then 3 is because there's this one quote, I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's out of sight, out of mind. This tends to happen a lot, especially with like my online friends. If I don't see them, I kind of forget about them. This has happened to me so many times. Like I'll completely forget about that person and I'll forget to like text them or check up on them because, again, out of sight, out of mind. It's like they're just not there in my life. Like suddenly they don't exist. I don't know, my brain just works that way. Out of sight, out of mind, out of mind. Victim number 4. Bro, calling them victims sounds like if I murdered somebody. So the way that we met actually goes back to video number 1, the first part. If you haven't watched it, it kind of goes more in depth as to how I met these people. Long short story? Long story? Long story short, we basically met through this group chat. I had this one Instagram account when I was like, 15? And this was back in like 2020. So I met her along with other people and we basically became friends. But, okay, this friendship was like one-sided because I never really considered her to be a close friend. Everybody in the group chat didn't like her and I did feel bad for her, but there were times where I could see why people didn't like her. Like the way that she would speak to other people was she kind of seemed mean, but I don't think she had bad intentions. So yeah, my first impression, I didn't really like her. I found her quite annoying, but then over time we started to slowly become friends, like good friends. I wouldn't consider her like a best friend or a close friend. We were just good friends. So it's actually funny because looking back at all of these friendships that I had in that group chat, I was basically the therapist for a lot of people. And I was just constantly drained because I would just help so many people with all their problems. I eventually helped somebody that went through abuse, somebody that wanted to themselves. I remember I would help this other person with her family issues. Like, I was just that person that would help a lot of people, and it was constantly draining. But at the time, I really enjoyed helping these people, like no matter how drained I constantly was. Until, also this is one of the big reasons why I left, until I realized that when it came to me and my problems, nobody was really there for me. But yeah, nobody was really there for me, and I had to constantly go through everything by myself. And it's one of the big reasons why emotional vulnerability for me is just very, very hard. So yeah, with this person, I actually did help her a lot with her family, especially with her mom and her brother. She had a very toxic relationship with her family, and I would constantly give her advice, try and help her out, and just so many things that I would do for this person. I actually did end up ghosting her 2 times. So the first time that I did ghost her was because I left the group chat and I deactivated. I was gonna say I blocked people, but I deactivated, and there was like no way that they could reach me. There was just a lot of people that I left without any explanation. Like, I had so many friends there, and I just left, and I didn't say a word. I just cut them out of my life like they were nothing. I thought just 2 people were going to be affected by this, but actually quite a lot more people were affected than I thought. So like I said, I wasn't really close with this person, but she considered me to be more close than what I originally thought we were. Also, she does have an anxious attachment style, so it makes it even worse. She didn't come back until a year or 2 later. I honestly don't remember. I don't even know how she found my Instagram, but she found it. We started texting, and she actually told me that the way that I left was just very impactful to her mental health. And it's so crazy to me because I swear I didn't think it would impact her at all. Like, I didn't think that I was considered to be a good friend to her or somebody that she cared about. Like, I really didn't think anybody cared that much, but it actually did. It's actually crazy because she showed me all of the text messages that she would send to me, even though that wasn't my phone number anymore. She would constantly like text me, not constantly, but she would text me every now and then, and she would just hope that I would one day answer her. Okay, this is where it gets kind of fucked up. God. So her and I actually got way more closer than we've ever been before. We started texting every day. We kept updating each other in our lives. She lives a few states away from me, so we never really got to meet in person. Our friendship was pretty nice, was healthy. That's the thing, like, our friendship, very healthy. There was so much communication. It was just a really good friendship. So the fact that I ghosted her after made 0 sense. So the second time that I ghosted her was, again, by the same way that I always do. I deactivated, and there were a few messages that she sent me before, but I never answered them, and I deactivated my Instagram account, created a new one, and yeah, I never told her anything. Like, I just left her like that, and she's probably very, very confused because I again left without saying anything. So yeah, she doesn't really have any other way of contacting me. She doesn't know my other Instagram that I made. So why did I ghost her? I don't know. I'm trying to understand that myself. So again, I'm a very complicated person. Sometimes I don't even understand why I do things. I think the reason why I ghosted her was because conversations were on repeat, and I feel like I kind of got, this is so fucked up of me to say, but I got bored. Before I ghosted her the second time though, I did tell her that I just needed a break. I told her that many times, like, I needed constant breaks from her, and I would try and tell her that it wasn't because of her, that it was because of life, and I was just stressed out. but in reality I just kind of needed a break from her. I would make her wait for months without contact simply because, again, out of sight, out of mind, I didn't really remember to keep up with her, to text her, contact her. I don't know, it completely flew over my head. This friendship wasn't really because of the vulnerability or because of the emotional connection that we had. It was mostly because I did get bored, and I'm not gonna shy away from that because it's true. I did get bored of the conversations that we had. They were it just felt like it was on repeat, and I felt the same way with many other people. I think that's one of the main reasons why I did ghost a few people. There are many times though where it's not because I get bored, it's because of the emotional vulnerability. Because one example, I'm not going to include this person here, but this is one example of me pushing away because of the emotional vulnerability. So this one was in person, and you're probably wondering, like, how do you ghost somebody in person? This is going back to high school. There was this one class that I had. So there was this one person that I started to form a connection with, and I found this person attractive, right? And I did notice that we were starting to form this bond, this emotional bond, and I got so scared of what would happen between us. This is so fun. I don't know how I ended up graduating because I did not want to meet up with this person again. I didn't want anything to form. Even though I was very attracted to them, I was just scared of it, okay? I ended up skipping that class for 6 months straight just because I didn't want to see that person. I sabotaged that relationship or bond that was starting to form, and I completely fucked it up, and I never contacted that person ever again. Like, we never talked after that. So yeah, that's one of the examples of me pushing away or distancing myself because of emotional vulnerability. Victim number 5. This person is the only one that I do think that she deserved it. I'm not gonna get too much into detail, but just know that she did deserve it, okay? Like I mentioned in part 1, basically this person and I were best friends. Like, everybody knew us to be the duo, like the best friends in our school, and we actually met in middle school. So it was just very nonchalant at school, and I remember she sat next to me. I didn't know who the hell she was, but I accepted it. And I remember she was just the complete opposite of me. She kind of gave like a golden retriever type of vibes. She just had so much energy. She would be very goofy. She'd joke around a lot. So ever since that day, we became best friends, and we would do everything together. We would sit next to each other on the bus every time. We would go to each other's house almost every day after school. We would have constant sleepovers. We would FaceTime. I'm not even kidding. FaceTime every single day. She would be the one that would FaceTime me, so I wasn't really the one that was pushing all of these things to like hang out or anything. It was mostly her, and I think that's one of the big reasons why our friendship worked in the first place and why we managed to become so close, is because she was the one that was she was a high maintenance friend, and that was the low maintenance. She was more clingy, and I really wasn't, but that's what helped our friendship become the way that it was. I explained it before that in order for a friendship to work, for us to become very, very close, you have to get through the attempts of me trying to push you away, and it typically does work when the other person clings onto me, because I don't really tend to do that to the other person. Now, there were ups and downs during high school. I remember when high school started, a lot more drama began to happen between us. Not drama, it was drama. There is so much to this friendship, it's actually insane, but I'm gonna try and make this very short. In high school, there were many times where I would take breaks from her, or I would just distance myself from her, and she would always be confused as to why I was suddenly acting this way. She was also very affectionate, and I was not. I mean, I still am not really that type of person. So she would always try and like hug me and I didn't like hugs, and I remember she would like hug me all the time and I'd just be stiff like, oh, okay. Same with words of affirmation, because she would always tell me like, I love you and all these things, and I wouldn't really say them back and she'd get hurt. It was very difficult because her love language was physical touch, and physical touch for me is like at the bottom of the list. And so long story short, we did end up getting in a huge argument. It was just this big argument that we had. It all happened so quickly. This was like years and years after our friendship. Basically, she ended up backstabbing me. She did something that completely ruined our friendship forever, and it wasn't the same after. I blocked her phone number on Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, just literally everywhere. But for some reason, there was this stupid glitch that happened on iMessages, and even though I had her blocked, her messages would still go through, and it would be months after our friendship breakup happened, and she would still try and contact me, and the messages managed to go through for some reason, even though I had her blocked. I just don't know why that happened. It got to the point where I just wanted to change my phone number because of how much she would text me. She would beg for me to come back, and I didn't respond to any of her messages. I don't really know if this is considered ghosting because I did tell her, but she did text me a lot and I would just not reply to any of them. After this breakup, our friendship was so intertwined with one another that I eventually lost a huge part of my identity. And for the longest time, I was just so depressed because I didn't really know who I was without her. It was like I had to relearn who I truly was without having her by my side at all times. And it was just a huge period of growth for me. I learned a lot, and it was very, very hard, very challenging. I don't regret anything that happened, not even what she did to me, because I did manage to learn a lot, and because of it, I'm the person that I am now. And I did end up forgiving her, forgiving myself. I didn't tell her that I forgave her. I internally forgive her for what she did. I did it because I want peace in my life, and I don't want to dwell on the past or what happened between us. Victim number 6. This is the last person that I have on the list, although there are so many other friendships that I've had before. I'm not gonna include all of them because I don't know. Also, it's so dark here. It gets dark really quickly, so if the light is terrible, I'm sorry. I'm gonna try and speed run this one. So basically, this person and I go way back again into the group chat that we had. We met through that group chat, and there were 2 different recruitments in this group chat. So this actually happened in the second one, and that's when we met. I remember she reminded me of somebody, and I think it kind of made it hard for me to connect with her, but we ended up becoming very close friends. Again, I was the therapist for a lot of people, and I did end up becoming a therapist to her, like a therapist friend. She suffered a lot with her mom. She had a very complicated relationship with her mom. I would always try and listen to her, give her advice. I'm not gonna lie, her mom, she was a narcissist, okay? I felt so bad for her because of the way her mom would constantly treat her. It was actually insane. So I would try to do everything that I could to help her out. Our friendship was there was like more banter between us. Although I did become her therapist, it's so ironic because I would listen to her problems and stuff. But then when it got all serious, we would just banter and pretend like we not hated each other, but it was just, I don't know, a very bantery friendship. I don't even know if that's a word. The way I ghosted her was by leaving the group chat. She's like one of the people that were affected by it because I did leave, didn't tell anybody about it. There was nothing really bad between us. There was nothing wrong in our friendship. And I just left and never told her anything about it, or I never communicated with her. She was just kind of left, again, confused like the rest were. And this made it even worse for her mental health. I did find out by somebody else that she did end up posting on my birthday and she was just very, I think she was like ranting. She just kind of made it obvious that it was about me, and I think she felt very discarded in a way that kind of made it seem like I didn't care about her. Now, this is the only person that I did not reconnect with. She did end up requesting my Instagram about a year or two later. I don't know how she found it. I don't know how she found me. And I was so hesitant to accept it because I didn't want the cycle to repeat again. I thought honestly she was gonna text me, but she didn't. And so I felt like there was just this unspoken tension between us because we just followed each other on Instagram. She liked my picture, I liked hers back, but we never really said anything to each other. And I don't know if she was expecting me to tell her something, to like text her, but nothing really happened. I don't know, it just felt like there was some closure that needed to happen, but it just never did. I'm sure there's a lot that we both need to say to each other, and I'm sure she has a lot to say, but we never really took action. She only followed me on Instagram for a few months until I deactivated, and this is how I ghosted a lot of people. But yeah, so yeah, that Instagram account is long gone. If you guys want to follow my new Instagram though, then I'm gonna leave that right here. I will not be deactivating that one this time. I made a lot of mistakes with a lot of friendships. I fucked up a lot of friendships. But yeah, those are basically all the friendships that I did end up sabotaging, that I ended up ghosting. And it took me a long time to understand the reason why I did these things in the first place, why I just cut people off just so randomly too, like without communicating with them. Every single time somebody gets close to me, I push them away, and this is really affecting a lot of my friendship. Like right now I only have really one close friend that I keep up with, and I think the way that it works out is because we're both very low maintenance, we're very flexible. She lives only a few houses away from me, like 2 minutes away. We'll hang out here and there, but I also crave a relationship with somebody that's kind of like a best friend. But let's be honest, that's not gonna be happening anytime soon if I keep doing these toxic cycles with people. Like, that's why my friendships don't last. Let's just be real, that's the reason why. So if you're an avoidant like me and you've had these experiences before, then please comment. Like, I really want to hear your thought process. I want to hear the reasons why you cut people off. Or if you've been ghosted before, then let me know the way that impacted you, the way it impacted your mental health. I'm curious to hear from other people as well. So in the end, we're all just trying to cope, even if they're not the healthiest ways to cope with. But if you guys enjoyed this video, then subscribe because I do post every Friday. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.